going to bring this up in the trusty NeoVim source main elm. So yeah, last time I also disabled the LSP and the LLM support. I'm using Codium to just get a bit of fancy autocomplete, and this time I'm just going to leave this on because it just saves me a lot of typing. It's pretty good at guessing my intentions, so that's also a fun thing to show in the end, I guess. And I also have these I didn't completely turn off the LSP, only the diagnostics, so all the yellow stuff here, and this is missing type annotation. So basically, I think what I'm going to start out with is to just remove all the warnings that the LSP is giving me, which includes also generating all the type annotations. Although I probably will start actually creating a type for our board, because I want to use that in the type annotations instead of these huge record types. So yeah, or maybe first of all, yeah, let's just start by going through some warnings here. So here I'm just going to use the shortcut to trigger the code action from the LSP, and I can just say like, yeah, remove all reported unused code. That's probably a good idea. I don't think that this changes a lot. Can just do a git diff on the source directory. So we see, we actually had an unused argument here. We should probably remove that as well as at some point, but I think I'm going for some more impactful stuff first. And also I'm going to set up my FS watch, so program, this command line program that I'm using to watch all the files in the source directory that will then continuously recompile the game. Because I'm actually while I'm refactoring, I will not check that the game is still doing what I think it should be doing, because I have fairly high confidence that as soon as it's compiled, it's still doing the thing that I want it to do. So maybe we start right away. And I'm also going to be, now that I have proven I can do it in under 100 lines of code, I also, yeah, actually that's one of the first things I'm going to do. I'm just going to trigger the reformatting of the LSP as well, or Elm format in this case. So you see we did get a lot here, because like if you want something to be on one line, then Elm format basically respects this and says like, okay, I'm going to leave it on one line, but actually I want to break this up the Elm way. I just have to break up the first line and then reformat again, and now it's a bit more organized, I find, or easier to read what are the actual fields that I'm passing into this record here. So again, I'm using the LSP code actions to tell me to add the inferred annotation. So that's another misconception that people who are proponents of dynamically typed languages have, is that like, oh, I have to type out these type signatures. But if you have a modern language and a good LSP, then you basically get this for free, and I can ask here the LSP to add the inferred annotation. And now you also see a bit what I meant with like, it's a bit unwieldy to have these record types, these anonymous records types in your function annotations. So basically what we have here, the first one is what's called flags. So that's the information that we get passed in from the JavaScript world when we initialize our Elm application. So that's the width, the height, and the number of bombs. And then, so program has 3 type parameters, and whatever comes here after program are these 3 type parameters. The first is the type for the flags, which were these 3 numbers that I just named. The second one is our model, so our game state basically, which is this record here. So this, in our case, it's just the Minesweeper board. So I'm going to introduce a named alias for this. Actually, it's until here. And then the third type is the name of the messages that can be sent from our view, which is just these two kinds of messages, I can click a field, and then the got shuffled fields is when we get the fields where the bombs are randomized back from the runtime. And you see again, there's also list here, record type. So we'll just make this all a bit more concise. So let's start out by, I'm just going to grab this expression here, everything that was between the brackets, and just call this board. And then I'm going to create a type alias. It's not a new type because it's just an alias for a record with certain types of certain fields. Sorry. Again, we're going to break this up to make it a bit more readable. But we still have type alias. I should also give it a name, board. And now we have nicely renamed this. The board uses an unbound type. Yeah, okay, because here it just says like, oh, the array, our fields, it's something with that has a visibility, and so obviously this is going to be our field. So we're going to just introduce an alias for that as well. Type. Look how smart it is. That's why I usually use the LLM. So this autocomplete was the Codium LLM support and not the LSP. And now I can just write array of field here. We can also import the array type directly to make this a bit more concise. And now it's all coming together nicely. Field content we have already defined. It's either empty with a number or a bomb. And now it compiles again. So that I wouldn't even bother checking that it's still doing, because I have such high confidence in the type system or in the language and the compiler that it's still doing what I want it to do. Yeah. So now now that we have those types, I don't think we need a lot more types, but I'll see as I go. We can generate the other type signatures, add invert annotation. And you see again, like that's something that I love for the type inference to be a bit smarter. It's like it generated again this anonymous type here that I just know it's a field, it's a board. But since it's just an alias, I guess the reason for it not being able to do that is like there could be theoretically several type aliases that satisfy this, but in our domain here we only have one, so it would be great if it could infer that, but it's not too hard to just rewrite this into board. Still compiles, so that was probably right. Let's go. We can actually just jump to the next diagnostics from the LSP. And again, it's missing type annotation for the update function here. So we do the same thing again. And update takes a message and a board and returns a board and a command. So I know that, again, between those brackets, this is a board. And then the same here. And then we just infer a few more things, and we see like basically already from the names of the arguments, the second one is a board again, so I can just change everything around these brackets again to be a board, and I'm pretty sure I'm returning a board as well. Does it compile? It still compiles. Jump to the next. So this is a bit mechanical. We take a board. And we return something with fields. I'm pretty certain that's also a board. Jump to the next thing. Add invert. This is a bit more interesting, or actually not. Actually, it's less interesting. To coordinates takes the width of the board. That's basically the stride that we need to be able to calculate an XY coordinate. So it takes the width and the index and then gives us a coordinate, and to index does the inverse operation. and for some reason it's enough for it to be number here, but I'm going to just because I know better, can narrow it more down and say that these numbers should actually also be ints. Boom. Jump to the next annotation, calc surrounding. What do we have here? Fields is a list of field. And what do we get back? It's something with fields. I'm pretty certain this is a board. Exactly. The LLM is also agreeing. Let's save. Does it still compile? Yes, still compiles. Perfect. Jump to the next. Inbound takes a bunch of numbers, so we can just replace them with ints again. Jump to the next one. Add invert. I don't even know what... Ah, yeah, we can fix this right away as well. List visibility. So this is a list of fields. And then it returns something with visibility and content. So this is one field. Oh no, it's one of the parameters. That's that one. And it returns a field as well. So we can just remove... Let's leave this here just to see that it still compiles. And now we can just remove this argument that we're not using. And now we can just let the compiler tell us where we have to fix this. That's line 132. 132, go. And we just remove those bomb locations. Interesting that I don't need the bomb locations. Do I recalculate them in surrounding bombs? Is bomb? I guess so. So that's not super efficient. List drop. Is bomb? Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, that's exactly. Well, it works. So don't have to fix this right away. It's still compiling. Let's go to the next. Let's finish the mechanical refactorings first. And here we take a board, change this to board, and we also return a board. Nice. Next, and the view is also pretty straightforward. View takes a board and returns HTML. Wonderful. And if I try to jump to the next, oh, here I overlooked one. Add invert takes a field. And now, yeah, bomb locations is unused. Oh, so I actually was even probably under 90 lines with my solution last week because I just deleted like 5 unused lines or something like this. All right, it's still compiling, and can you see that? Yeah, no more valid diagnostics to move to. So we fixed all the warnings, and now we can check if the game is still working. That looks good. So that means here's a bomb. That means here's not a bomb. There is not a bomb. That means there and there are not bombs. So that means there's a bomb. There's no bombs. Ah, damn it. But yeah, still looks pretty good. So I'm just going to create a commit with this. We can do a bit of, we can see how many lines we actually now have here in source main. 150. So with the generous formatting and like there's some things, for example, although these empty lines are not counted, but something that I did in my prototype to save the lines is just I inlined the expression that gets returns in the branches, and Elm format is very opinionated about those things, that they have to be on an extra line, and I have like, I don't know, a handful of these case statements in the source code, so that contributes to a lot of the additional lines here already. Or same thing with if then statements are broken out like this. And yeah, and then obviously the new type declarations here, although I could squeeze them on one line, but I think that's just more readable, and in the end it's still only 150 lines of code. Okay, let's add all of this and commit, add type annotations. So the next step I want to do is like separate the concerns a bit, like the main application, that's really where the control flow for the whole program or application is defined. And I basically want to separate out the aspects, the business logic or game logic that is our game, our board itself. So I will create a new module, source board elm, and then I'm just going to first declare the module. I'm just going to, I don't know, exposing, like I could just expose all. Yeah, I think I will start out like this just to keep it compiling, and then to just show what's the right way, we will narrow it a bit down so that when you look at this module, you actually know what are the moving parts, the API of this module, rather than all the internals that are uninteresting basically to the main module. So I'm just going to grab those types. I would argue those are the cornerstone of this application. There's one missing here, the field content, and the visibility also probably belongs to this. So let's put this all into this module. So now, and this is basically also the way that the author of the AMP programming language has a really good talk from already, I don't know, 10 years ago. It's called A Life of a File, that basically describes how to start cutting up your application. And it's basically exactly this process where you start with everything in one file. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt as it does in languages that are less strictly typed or where you have less support from the compiler, because as you will see, we will basically work our way along the compiler error messages to cleanly cut those two concerns apart. And at no point in time I'm worried that I'm overlooking something or get a null pointer or cannot resolve something, because it's like the compiler will just tell me in a very friendly way. So let's see what are the constants that actually do belong into the main module. It's obviously the main function itself, the init function, basically everything that gets named here at the top level element, that those are concerns that the main application is really concerned with. So I'm going to leave those in here. So the init function, the update function, the message type itself is the update function. And then I would argue, like, clicked field takes an index and the board and returns a new board that is very local to our board data type. So this is something that I want to definitely move over. I'm just going to rearrange the functions in this module first so that I can just take them as one big chunk, because the only thing that's still missing, we've seen the update function, the subscription function is a closure, an anonymous function here, so we don't even have to look that up. Just the view function is the other things that we're gonna leave here. So I'm just going to grab this, and view also needs view field, so we're going to take this as well. I'm just going to put this right under the update function here. And then I will just take everything else, clicked field, reveal all, to coordinates. Those are all functions that belong basically to the board's data type, if you will. And so in an object-oriented programming language, that would basically be the members or the methods for a board class. Reveal, exactly. So I'm deleting those from here, and I'm just going to paste them in my board module. I'm going to reformat everything here as well. And obviously the compiler is now complaining. Where's my fswatch expression? It's complaining about a bunch of these names that it doesn't know. So we're just going to import those. Move here an array. We don't need this anymore. But board, visibility, those are all things that we have to import visibility from module browser events. Exactly. Can I actually point there? Not so easy. But they're numbered, so I'm just going to press 1 here. So we're doing the same thing. It actually doesn't know where field content is coming from, but it's from here, right? Yeah. So sometimes, for some reason, I don't know why it's not able to give us this auto-completion field content, and I know already board we want for sure as well. Bad import. Oh, that is clearly not from the browser events package. And that's why it's yeah. For some reason it hasn't discovered my board module yet. Right. Module board exposing everything, and I've saved it. Why are you not happy? Maybe I have to restart the LSP. Which is, if I would be using VS Code, something I would complain about when I worked on React with TypeScript, because it takes ages. But an LSP restart here in my new Vim is actually quite fast. So, hidden. Yeah, Elm distinguishes between importing just the name of the type, and if it's like here, if it is a union type or a sum type, a type with variants basically, then you also have to, when you're exporting, you can choose to not export the constructors, and that's something that gives you basically the ability to do information hiding or opaque types, so that only you inside of this module know basically how to construct this type. But in our case, I'm not so stingy, and I'm just saying like, yeah, sure, import all those constructors. Same for field content. Array empty, so we do need an array empty. Well, actually that should be taken care of by the board type as well. But let's see, clicked fields, we want to import. Calc surrounding, we want to import. And now I have already a good feeling. Why don't you recompile, my dear? Now I have a good feel what I actually want to export from this module. This is in board. Yeah, no, I haven't done any imports here, so I'm just going to catch up on that. Field is not imported yet. Boom, and now we're compiling again. And so as you've seen, since I started the refactoring, I don't know how like 20 minutes ago probably, I haven't looked. I know I looked once at the games. I'm cheating, but basically I have no doubt that this thing is still compiling, and I won, yay! And not only compiling, but also still exactly does what it did before. All right, so now we can be a bit more explicit here, and export only what we actually want to export. So export field, and let's see what the LMM proposes. Field content, visibility, clicked field, calc surrounding, field, and I think all the rest here we actually do not want to expose. We don't want to expose. Bad export, you're trying to multiple times, that does not make sense. So empty is part of field content, and now we see like field content, that's the type that contains these two constructor or variants, and so to be able to use them in our main module we have to expose those as well. Now we're compiling again, and we can say like, that gets a bit unwieldy here, this one line, so we're just going to do a line break here and let it format for us, and now we see exactly what this module is exposing. All right, so this is pretty neat. Nice little refactoring. And I said, basically, I think in this init function, no, we're just going to leave it like this and add some more visible changes here. So I'm just going to create a git commit again. Let's see where we are. I don't think it changed a lot. Probably a few more lines since we now have another module statement. So actually for fairness, we have to say all the Elm files. So yeah, we had 15 lines plus, but now we have this nice separation because basically I think, now let me create this commit for first. Git ci -m break out board module. Bam. I didn't add anything. I'm just adding everything. Boop. And now we're clean again. Alrighty. So yeah, I think the thing that makes most sense to continue now with is I can currently pass in the board width and the number of the bombs through these parameters. We haven't looked at the index HTML yet. Let's change this. Dist index HTML, basically here those are the 3 lines that initialize our Elm application and replace this my app container with our application, and 3107, that's the number of bombs, and that's the width and the height of the board, I believe. Yeah, sounds about right. So that's not really a user interface, that's more like a developer interface. So I think what I want to do next is like have a menu. If you load the application, go to the page, you'll land in a menu where you have 2 sliders, one for the field size. For convenience, I'm just going to make it square, and a slider for the number of bombs that you want to play with. And then have like a play button, and then have a nice view transition to the Minesweeper board itself. So, and that's, I think, the step before. Breaking out the board, removing the board logic from this from the main application was a big step, because basically our application knows 2 states now: either we're in the menu or we're in the game. So let's say, where do we start with this? So the application state, or world state, or game state, is usually referred to as the model in Element. So I will just create a new type. It's going to be an alias2 because it's just a record. I'm going to call it model. And let's just start with not introducing too many things at a time. Although I'm not even sure if I need anything more, but we definitely still going to need a board. But we also want to, I don't know, mode, maybe we call it the mode. To want to know whether I'm in the menu or on the game. And so this mode is going to be a new type. So it can be either in game or in menu. So now rightfully it's complaining about the fact that we're not using this yet. So that means our program, our Elm application, the state of the Elm application is not just the board, but it's our model. So that means I'm going to rewrite the application here to use basically model everywhere where we used just the board before. And of course, the first thing when we're starting an Elm application is initializing our model or game state. And so the init function now must return a model rather than a board. So first we have, and here's the expression where we return just the board. So now I'm going to wrap this into this other record that I just created and say board is this thing that we had before. And then we also have to initialize our mode. Did I initialize that correctly? That looks good. And like, I can just save now, and then we can see I get a bunch of compiler errors, and I could of course always jump from error to error here. We see like, here you're still giving boards, but you should really give this thing that that's unfortunately not named, but we can see from the fact that it needs a board and a mode that it's talking about our model. So actually, you know what, we're going to do just that. So we have to update our update function and our view function to also take a model and return a model. So let's go here where we're in it, and we jump to the definition, go to definition of our update function, and we're replacing board with model, and here as well. And now we of course we also have to return a model here, not just a board. So we are going to do a partial update on the model. So we also do get a model as a second argument here and not just a board. And a partial update, we can use this syntax here with a pipe, where we say basically take the model and update the board field with the expression that's here on the right side of the equal sign. And now we also have to tell it where it gets the board from. Fixed indentation here, and we do the same thing here. Again, we update the model, update the field board of the model with whatever the calc surrounding function returns. A bit of indentation, and now it probably doesn't know where fields comes from. A bit surprised that it doesn't complain, but I'm pretty sure that is model board.fields set it once unused. Oh no, actually, it's not true. It gets the fields here. So yeah, actually no, it was right, I was wrong. View is the last function that I said I want to change to model. So we are deconstructing fields and width from the board that we don't have anymore here as a parameter. Instead we have the model, but we are going to deconstruct the board field directly, and then we're just going to deconstruct what we deconstructed before with another expression in our let block. Let this form it for us, and now it's compiling again. So everything still works like before. We now just have theoretically the knowledge whether we're in the menu or not. So that means in our view function, maybe we start there right away. We also want to render two things potentially, or one of each. So I will rename this to view board actually. And write a new view function. Model. And now we're going to... Now one could be tempted, the letter M is not far off here. It wants to basically say like, if it's in the menu mode, then show the menu, and if it's in the game mode, then show the menu. But I want to have like a nice transition where it slides in and out the game board itself. So that means if I just show one or the other, then I get a hard cut, and I don't want this. So I'm first going to create a new wrapper div, and then I'm just going to render both view menu, and I probably, maybe I don't even need the model for them to render the menu, but I definitely need to render need the model to render the board. So I'm also going to create a new function. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm just going to autocomplete here with a menu. Does it compile? It compiles. So what does it look like if I'm refreshing? Yeah, so here's our menu. Here's our game field. Doesn't look very fancy. So basically what I want to do, I want each of these screens, the menu and the game board, to be like full screen. So I'm just going to throw some CSS here in here. And so this div already, let's call this the board container. That is a great name. And let's start here. Or actually, maybe we just try to be a bit more semantic. We're going to call this main. There's a main element in HTML. And so now we can say main as display flex. And I know that the body always has some weird margins or paddings, so we're just going to set all of this to 0. Bam. And in main we just say like the direct children of this main container, they will have the width of 100 view width, so the 100% of the viewport width. Same for this, and or maybe we just do 90 so that we actually see a bit, but eventually I will turn this into 100. That is just so that we can see yeah, overflow we don't need on those children, the boundaries of those. So now we see like, aha, okay, they're next to each other. There's the menu here, but for some reason it's not really 100%. I think what we need to specify here is shrink, flex shrink or something like this. Shrink is 0. Bam. Now we have really these 90%. So that's great. And I think what I'm basically going to do is when we move from the menu to the game, I'm just going to take this whole container with the two pages, screens next to each other, and just going to slide it basically through the body to the left. So I mean, now we have a scroll bar. That's pretty ugly. Or no, we are going to leave it like this. We are going to say like overflow hidden. So that means now we don't have the scroll bar anymore, and we can't actually scroll either. And now I'm just going to say if we're in game, I will attach a class to the main class. Does that make sense? Yes. So let's say and dot in game. If that is the case, then we will transform the children. Translate x 100 view width, and this is actually something that I want to do to the children. That sounds cruel. Nope. That looks better. So now we should actually only see the menu exactly. And now we go back to our Elm, and now we can say like we add a class. And do I want to do this here right away? Sure, why not? Yeah, exactly. Actually, then I just render an empty string, and otherwise we say in game. So now this should be still in menu, because in our init function we actually initialize this with in menu. So you can just search where we use this here, of course, and if I initialize it to in game, then it does something really weird. Why? Let's remove the overflow hidden so that I can scroll a bit. Ah, it scrolled in the wrong direction. Okay, so I just have to invert the direction. Yes, it should go to the left, of course. And now we should see the game field. Still not entirely. -100. Why not? Both should be translated. Ah, yeah, because I have to use the greater than sign here to make sure it's only applied to the direct children. And now we see the board. So that's great. So let's add a button to actually start a game without actually starting anything yet or respecting any logic that the user might expect. Where's our menu? View menu. Let's add a button here. Button. Text start. Sounds great. We have to add an import. We let the LSP do that for us. Bam. Now we also have to make sure that we are in menu again. In menu. So now we have this button, but it doesn't do anything yet. So let's get back to our button and invent a new message on click. Clicked start. Boom. Will the LSP help us with that? Create missing union constructor. Awesome. Go to definition. Now we have 3 messages in our application. And now we can handle this new message in our update function. And as you can see, the LLM has a good guess already. Let's go with that in game. Refresh. Press start. Nothing happens. Why not? Did I refresh too soon? Boom, yes. So now you can press start and these containers are both shifted, translated to the left. But as I said, like that's not really pretty. And now comes the magic of CSS. We will just say transition. Yes, transition, transform, half second sounds great. So now if we press start, whoop, whoop, that's pretty neat. Just one more time. Very nice. Okay. So, and we can play, blah, 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 all good. Or maybe we add a back button to the game as well. Where is our, let's close this one because we really don't want anything with the board itself. We just want to change our control flow here in the main module. So U1, let's just add a button here. Button. Clicked. Back to menu. And this is obviously completely on the wrong spot here. Test text. Back. On click. Create missing union constructor. You know the drill by now. Now we have 4 messages. And I'm pretty certain Codium knows what to do exactly. Let's reformat the file just to stay on top of that. Menu start, back to menu. Woohoo! That's pretty neat. All right. Maybe we just do a little intermediate commit here. Git add everything. Git commit. Add menu screen. Boom. So now I want those sliders. Where are the sliders? View menu. Maybe we break things up a bit here. Boof. Please format. Please format more. Yes. So, a slider. A slider in HTML is just an input element with the type range. The function is called type underscore because type is a keyword in Elm, so we cannot use it as a function name as well. So we want two sliders, and the first one will have a label and the current value. I don't know. Text. Size maybe. Size. Yeah, colon, why not? And then I will just put in a placeholder here for now, just to see how all of this pans out. Does it compile? It compiles. Let's refresh. Woohoo! Well, these should go on separate lines as well, so let's just wrap them in a div. Boom, refresh. I have no clue why those are no. The FS watch is not that fast. So, all right, we have a slider. And of course, like, yeah, I want to display. The button should probably go on the bottom. Boom. Text, let's make this an H3 maybe, a little headline here. We call this Minesweeper. And of course we have to wrap this in a text node. Boom. Good. And maybe I want all of this like in a nice little box centered rather than hanging there in the top left. So I'll just wrap this in another div here. Boom. Oh yeah, and I probably messed that up completely. Yes, this also needs. Okay, so this belongs to that, and then there's probably still one messing closing bracket. No, it's more. That's wrong. This belongs to that one. This belongs to that one. Unexpected square bracket because you also belong to this one. All right. Div menu. And so, I don't know, ID menu, that's more like the menu container, I would say. Menu screen. And this is the actual menu. I don't even know. Maybe I don't even need the ID here. How does it look? Exactly like before. Fantastic. So let's say menu has width, I don't know, 15 EM. And we say border, type too much border, 1 pick solid gray. For now, that is fine. That is pretty good. And we just say like everything that's in our main should just width auto. That should center it as well, I guess. Poof. No, not width auto, margin auto I meant. Margin auto. Boom. Does not work, so let's just use less old flex. And then justify center and align item center. Boom. And then we say inside of that thing, of that menu, we want everything to be 100%. and width, and we say text align center. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. This is what I want. Boom, that looks a bit more like it. The board is also nicely centered. The back button is a bit odd position there. Let's pretend we didn't see that. And yeah, I think next thing is to actually connect these sliders to something. So to connect the slider, we want to react to input with on input and say like changed size. That's our message. We're going to import that function and we're going to create the missing union constructor. And if we jump to the definition for this, you will see it automatically added the string argument for this constructor, because that's the kind of message that the on input, or the kind of function that the on input. We can just briefly jump back and inspect the signature of the on input function, and it wants a function that takes a string and returns a message. So we know the constructor of our message needs to at least take this one string, so it adds it for us in the message definition here. So let's see what it proposes. I'm curious. Change size. Okay, it basically doesn't know what to do, which is completely reasonable because we don't really have a place to store the size anywhere just yet. It compiles, but it's still not reflecting this, specifically not in this display that is hard coded there. So let's address that next. So we need a place in our model to store the board size. So I will just add a size field here, int, and now to complain that I'm not initializing this field completely reasonably. So I will maybe I just initialize it from our width that we get from the JavaScript sites. Width, bam. And now we can actually go to the update function again and say like update a field of our model. The field that I want to update is the size field, already wrong. And this argument of the changed size message that we get is the new size. And so I want to write just assign the new size to the old size, right? The thing is, as this size that we get from this constructor is a string, and why is that the case? It's because all inputs in HTML always just produce strings. It's just the browser might have restrictions, like you can say type number and then you can only type in numbers, but ultimately in the DOM there's always a string that this value is stored in. So what we have to do is we have to convert a string to int. We have to convert this string into an int, obviously. Easy peasy? Yes, but you have forgotten something. People could just go into this field. If it's just a string, it could be that there's just not a number. Like through the slider, we know it will always be a number, but technically Elm cannot be sure of that. So in this, that's why the toInt function, if you give it a string, returns a maybe int. So if it's anything else than an integer, it will return nothing. So we have to handle this case as well. And what we can do in this case is like, I would do the verbose operation here. I would call another function from the maybe module that's called with default. And it takes, in our case, a number and a maybe, or an integer and a maybe an integer, and always returns an integer, which is exactly what we want, because we always want to update our size field with an integer. Like at least the expression that's on the right side of an assignment to this integer field always has to return an integer. So with default, we can give it a default, and then of course I could write now 0 or something even less sensical like -1 here. But I think the most sensical default here is just to leave it at whatever value it was first. And then I have to give this brackets, because like with default takes 2 arguments, and if I don't give the brackets, then it's basically like, that looks like actually this takes now 3 arguments, because while toInt is a function, functions are also values. So it's a bit hard for Elm to know like what's happening here, what's intended here. So I have to put brackets around this, and now it gets a bit unwieldy to mentally unroll this. So a more readable way to do this is like, or at least how I would write it. There are multiple versions of this, how to write this, but the way I think about it is like, I'm trying to turn the size string first into an int, and then I'm going to return something else as a default if it's not an int. So that I want to idly write it like the other way around, like this. And of course that makes absolutely no sense the way that it's written here, but there is something that we can do, is we can use this pipe operator here, this little triangle operator that basically does exactly this, which says like, I first do the thing here on the left side and then pass it into as the last argument of whatever's on the right side. And in this case we can even skip the parentheses. So this is how I would write this, and Elm Format is also happy with this, and it compiles. So now we can reload and we can do the thing, and I have now trust in the Elm runtime that this value is changing under the hood, but of course I also want to see it displayed here. So let's do that one last thing. Where was this? -1 I think I had there, right? It's not this -1, it's this one. So we have a text here, and so now exactly LLM knows what's best. It turns model size into an integer, into a string again, because to call it with text, to create a text node, we have to give it a string. And now we see we actually do need the model here as an argument to our view function. So I just quickly pass that down, model. And so this compiles again pretty surely, but I want to do one more aesthetic change to show you that I can also do it the other way around. Again, text with like, you have to see like where's the end of those brackets, and if it's until the end of the line, I can use basically the sibling of this operator where it pointed to the right, and let it point to the left. And I can just now remove the parentheses to say like, just everything that's on the right side of this thing, just pass it in as one argument to this function here on the left. Still compiles. And now if we do a reload, then we can see like, well, we have a little number here. And so now comes, of course, the default. You see we have a slider that increments in steps of 1 between 0 and 100. And now I think like nobody wants to like play 43 field. No, I rather have 42. So I kind of want to make bigger steps, and because I'm a nerd, I will take powers of 2 to do this. And like I think going up, like having like the smallest one should be probably, I don't know, maybe just for fun we allow 1. I don't know. Let's just say like I will have this. I will basically the slider take this as the power of 2 that I want to take. So like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and so on. So I think, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So instead of displaying the actual number, let's say board size takes also a model, and we just say like this is squared. So we say, and now you can see like how I actually can board size build these pipelines out of this. Model.size, I just give it the model. We don't even need this. And I can also, of course, wrap this around into lines. And now basically you have two options how you want to express this. I mean, let's first make sure this works. So yeah, what's the size? So and when I say size here, I really mean width. That's actually not what I want. I want the other way around, not squared, but 2 to the power of model size. 2 to the power of model size. Boom. So now we have the good nerdy, yes. Size 20. I have not refreshed. Now we have these numbers. Yes, those are the numbers. And I think like probably 128 is a good cutoff point. So what we can do, we can actually harness the power of HTML. Oh no, first I wanted to just show you that we can also switch the order of the pipeline around. Like, and it really depends on how you think of this function call, which way you want to write it. Like, and just for the sake of it, I would say like, oh no, first I'm taking the board size, then I'm converting this into an int. And then at the very end, I'm turning it into a text node. And so this does exactly the same. But now harness the power of HTML. Maybe we get a line break here because again, we're getting it a bit unwieldy, and we say max, there is attribute max. So I think I'm going to also want to have at some point the other max function. So I'm going to do a fully qualified import here. And let's say, I don't know, 6, or what's the... I have to also, this also takes, because it's an HTML attribute, and all attributes are strings as well. It's still a bit much, right? I know, 64 is fine. Uh, 64, 128. I said I want to have as a maximum, right? And so now basically now I also want to go to the remove this default here and just say width size default is maybe 4. 16. Yes. And what you see here though is now the slider's all the way to the right, but the value is 16 when it should I would somehow expect the slider to be here when it's 16, right? And that is because we actually don't on the slider itself, we don't tell it to use which value to indicate the current position. So here as well, I need to do this little thingy from int exactly, boom, board size. No, board size is wrong. This should be model size. So we actually don't need the second one of those. And value is an attribute from the HTML attributes module. So now when I refresh, slider's immediately at the right position. That's neat. And so we're going to do the same thing with num-bombs, I think. Oh no, before actually let's do some. No, we are going to do the hard part first and then reward ourselves with some nice styling. Boom. This is here. Bombs. And so bombs. The interesting challenge here is like bombs. I like there's an upper ceiling how many bombs I can put on the field, which depends on the size of the bomb of the board, obviously. So I don't want to be able to say like, hey, you have 100 bombs on a field that is 2 by 2. So we have to limit this somehow, but... And I also don't, again, I don't want to increment in single bombs. Like there's no point in saying like I want exactly 19 bombs. So I think I want to make this slider increment by the width of the board. So if I have, let's say I have an 8x8 board, then I would say like the minimum number of bombs is 8 and the next is 16 and 24. So again, like the range slider, basically I just increment by ones and then I calculate what the number actually means. So that means the maximum of this slider is always the number, the width of the board, basically. So what I can do already is we can do this max thingy again. Where's my input? Type range. Boom. That format that for us, and we say max is of course something that I have to convert from an int string from int, and it is board size model, exactly. And now we also want to present a value which is not the board size, which is model dot, let's call this numBombs, doesn't exist yet. And on input, change numBombs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to introduce this new field, or actually we can already create this message, and then it complains here that it doesn't have this field. So let's fix this first. Where's our model type? Here, go to line 16, and exactly that's the kind of thing we want. And then it will complain in the init function, of course, that this is not initialized. So let's initialize this with 1, which is actually not, well, it's not really the number of bombs. It's the bomb multiplier. Let's rename this. Oops. Rename this to bomb mult. Poof. And now we basically do the same thing as we did here. So I'm actually going to copy this. Change numBombs mult. How did I bomb mult exactly? String to int mult, and here it's also bomb mult. Let's go back to our view menu function here. Where is it? Bombs, model, board size, no. NumBombs. NumBombs. Model, exactly. We make a new little function for that. NumBombs is a yes. Board size model, board size, yeah, exactly. Well, it's also board size is also not the right name. Board size is really board width. So let's rename this right away. Board width, boom. Boom. Do we compile? Are we compiling? No, because numBombs. Okay, I actually have this 37. What is it shadowing? Where does numBombs also get used? In 118. Ah, yeah, okay. Because they cannot, shadowing is forbidden in L. Some love it, some hate it. I think for now I will just rename this num bombs, and then later on I will remove all the other references, because all the other references are basically from our flags that get passed in from the JavaScript side, and I don't think we need that at all anymore. And now it probably complains about the fact that we're not using it, and this is not used because here I still use it without it. So let's see. Bombs 16, 32 makes a lot of sense. And so 16 by 16 is 264, which is also the maximum. So this all makes sense. And if we go to a smaller board, then we also automatically this also fits here. The only thing probably that doesn't fit, if I crank this all the way up, then like 8 times 8 is 64, but we have still 128 bombs. So we have to basically, whenever we change this and reduce it, we have to check the bounds for the value that's already selected. So that happens, of course, in our update function. When we change the size, we will do a line break here to just, because now we will also update the bomb mult field, and we will say the max, and now that's why I imported the other max function as a canonical expression here, because now I just want to have max, which I believe is already imported by default anyway. And actually I want the min function of the minimum or the maximum is model 2 to the power of model size and the current multiplier. Okay, I think that's it. Compiled, refreshing, cranking it all the way up, cranking it all the way up. Bombs should now go down to whatever. 128 bombs? This doesn't sound right. Minimum of... So basically, like it says, like if this is smaller than this, then take this. But why is it bomb mult? Ah no, it's just model size. It's not 2 to the power. So let's do this again. Size all the way up. Bombs all the way up. Too large number for me to calculate in my head. Bombs 32. 46. That's also not entirely right, but it's better. Yeah. So like as you can see, I'm a bit bad with numbers. That's why I didn't study math. That's why I studied computer science, so that the computer can do the numbers for me. But from time to time, I still have to get them right, and I don't. So why is that not correct? Anyway, for me, that's good enough. I will keep that as a to-do for later. I just want to show more fancy stuff. That's why I'm just going to move on here. Bomb 0 also makes no sense, obviously. But anyway, we can configure things. And obviously the thing that's missing the most... No, I said first we treat ourselves to some styling before we actually wire that up to the board. So I just want to make a little tweak that I think makes a lot. So first of all, what's always weird is like if these things are centered like this, then whenever the order of magnitude changes here, I get an extra digit, then it wobbles weirdly. So I really want the bombs to be all the way to the left and the number all the way to the right. And also I want the slider to be full width. So let's do a bit of that. Width, that is good. So any input in the menu should also, and the button is already 100%. Text align center. So I just have to say actually input width 100%. Boom. I will remove this border, or at least add some padding eventually. I don't know what to do visually with that yet. Yeah, basically I already can remove this. Oh no, that's not the one. It's 33. Whoops. Boom. That looks a bit cleaner already. And now I said I want to use flex to split these up into 2 items and then justify space between. So let's go to view menu. And I think I just call this a label. And then to align the children, we actually have to make them proper elements. Board width, this also goes into a div, and now comes the element, the moment again where this gets a bit finicky, although I think I can just say it should work, right? Does this work? This works. Wonderful. So I will do the same to the other thing here, class label. I don't know, have I already imported class? I think so, yes. So this gets a div, you get a div, and you get a div. Boom. Ugly, of course, but Elm format to the rescue. Boom. So now we have these labels. Yeah, it looks a bit weird now. But what we now can do is we take the index div and we say that's class label display flex, and we say justify content exactly. Sometimes it's really spooky how well the LM knows ahead of time what I want to do. And now if these numbers get big, nothing is wobbling, everything is pretty. And I think the ultimate hack now to make this look more like a game is there is a font, Google fonts, called press start to play. You see I've been there, which looks really retro. Remove font, get font, get embed code. So we want to copy these include statements here, and of course if you I would not really recommend loading those from Google, but rather hosting them yourselves. But for the sake of quickly getting something that looks good, we want to just include them like this, and we're just going to So let's refresh. Boom! Look at this. And actually I don't want to do this only for body, but I want to just say like everything should use this. Don't know if that's a bad practice to do it like this. Please somebody enlighten me if so, but for now I'm just going to do this. And now the button also has this look, and also our numbers here. Yeah, let's center our numbers on in our grid as well. Or actually no, let's say this is already good. Let's make a little commit here. Never hurts. Commit early and often. Git add git ci minus add size and bump slider to menu. Boom. Bring back that watcher. All right. What next? I think next thing I want to do is actually use those sliders. So, like, obviously I want to keep this behavior when I switch here, but I want to have the board reflect the settings that I just made. So that means, when do I click the start button? What do we do there? Click start. I'm just saying like, whatever board you have, switch over. And I don't think that's what we want. And like, well, we have to basically do the thing that we previously did at the startup of the application, which is to initialize a whole new board and so on and so forth. So what are we doing there? Let's check that out. So here we create this unshuffled board, and then we do this whole shebang. So basically we don't need any of this at the beginning, really. We already have an empty board. So basically we just want to do this step. And as it happens to be in the update function, like this is the command, this part of the result that we're returning from the function. As it happened, we can also return a command from our update function. So basically what I want to do is go to the update function, update, and here in our clicked start, instead of returning command none, we return, oops, this guy. Whoops. So there's a comma too many. And now we have a bunch of things that are not defined. Width and height, which we can now basically derive from our model. So that's not bad. I will actually, let me jump back to, we just grab this whole let block that we are also not using anymore now and in it here, because we don't actually want to issue the command here. So I'm just going to dump this here. Where is the init function? I lost it. Go to definition. Hello, easy. Go to definition. Thank you. And I said, like, I don't want to do this here because I don't want to shuffle a board at the beginning because I don't even know what the player wants to play. So I'm just going to remove this. So we're initializing our invisible Minesweeper board with an empty array and everything. I don't care about these values. Probably I can remove the flags as well. Should I do this right away? No, I will do this separately because it's kind of unrelated. It doesn't break anything if I just leave it there. And now go back to our, where's it, generate here. And now we have to just adjust a few expressions here. So first, numBombs. Where do we get numBombs from? Basically, numBombs is, we see it here. This size is wrong. This is board size model, exactly. Bomb mult is 1 to, and I multiply it with the width of the board. Yes, that is correct. Was it not called board size? Did I already call it board width? I think I already renamed it. Very good. Okay, let's just make an expression here that we just call width. Then we can just say width here, and we reuse this expression here. And actually, let's just do it like this. Let's save, and now it's just complaining about, oh no, that's width. Something is wrong. What is wrong? Yeah, I think unnecessarily this can be more precise. This always returns a message. That was an oversight. That was because at the time where I generated the annotation, I guess it wasn't sure which kind of message. So this is good. This is good. It compiles and we start. And this actually does something. crazy. I thought it wouldn't. Clicked start, clicked start. Ah, yeah, because actually I think we are switching it over to the game technically a bit too early when we're asking the runtime to shuffle the board. I think I would not do this right away. I would say we move over into the game when the board is actually shuffled. But since this takes so little time, it doesn't make a big difference. But just here, I want to say like, oh, now that we have shuffled the board, that's when we actually switch to the in-game mode. Should still compile. Yes. Boom. Let's make a little bit smaller board. 4x4. Awesome. Back. So I think that's actually worth committing again. So let's say git add dot git ci -m connect sliders to board. Watch that again. And now I think just to clean up behind me, I'm going to actually remove those flags here. We actually don't pass anything into this program. We are not using these at least, so I can just ignore all of this. And we're going to remove the flags entirely. Removing code is always nice. And then to change everything, does it compile? It does not, because 39 here, yes, I just say 1, doesn't really matter. Now it compiles again, and it works again. Nice, boom. 8. Here, that looks nice. All right, so again, a good moment to make a commit. Git add everything, git ci -remove unused flags. Bam, going back here. And think like I already have 1.5 hours on the clock here. I think I'm going to do another 20 minutes. So what is a nice thing to do in 20 minutes? Maybe beef up this board a bit. So let's reward ourselves a bit with a bit more of styling. First I'm going to maybe at least bring down this back button. View board, go here. Where's the back button? Let's wrap this in a div. Is that enough? That enough? Start? No. What is it? Because the container is flex, I guess. Let's see. Board container. Make this a bit smaller. Display flex. Yeah, this should be a column. Is it the board container? Yeah. Display flex. Ah, yeah, flex direction column. That should do the trick. I think it should not mess up our menu. Flex direction. Yes, thank you. Boom, that still looks good. And now this looks also good. Yeah, now I want to center these numbers. So we're back in our board again. That's here. And let's just say text align center and line height 2em. Let's move the sizes together. Poof. Oh, actually, I think size, I'm going to initialize this with something smaller so that it's not so nice. Boom. 4. Yes. All right. That looks better. So the next thing I want to do is I want to have more like a revealing feeling when I click on one of those fields. So what I want to do is I want to cover them up with like a gray cap, the fields that in some way vanishes when I click it in a bit of an animated style. So let's start by adding the cap first. So what I want to say is basically I want to indicate to our CSS word that it's actually hidden. So that means if this field is hidden, I don't care what's underneath exactly, then I already have a class hidden, so that's perfect. So if it's hidden, so if it's the selector here, that's the immediate child of the board, selects one of our fields, and I want to say like if it's a field and it is hidden, then I want to use a pseudo selector before content, I think can be blank, say display block, say width should be the same, 2em, height is also 2em, and now we say background, yeah, background color, and we say an RGBA color, RGBA, yes, maybe not black, but something like a light gray is more something like 200 maybe. 200, and I'm just going to go with 0.5 opacity to see if that works. That looks more than, oh no, because there's nothing behind it, so that's why it looks, I don't see the one shining through already, which of course makes sense. So I can just as well make this fully opaque. And now we say, no, actually that's not when it's hidden, that's always there, the cap, but we say here, the opacity, like when it's, we can remove all of this, and when it's hidden, then we set the opacity to 1. So does it make sense? If I click it, it goes away. That is beautiful. What? I have to, I think it's basically wrong located because I didn't say position absolute before. It's a bit weird. Yeah, everything is kind of like shifted before because my before pushes the actual element itself down. Yeah. I have to say position absolute. Top, yes, 0 exactly, left also 0, and then I have to the parent, I have to say position relative, I believe. That's the nasty CSS things that are not self-explanatory. Yeah, that looks better, that you just have to learn, unfortunately. All right, and now, as I said, I want it to be neatly animated. So now we are going to pull out the nice transition thingy again. And now, hopefully, it's something, it's a bit weird that I see in the stream is that there's a weird offset for my mouse cursor. Like I'm actually, my mouse is on the start button now. So disregard where I'm clicking. You should see it by the effect that it's having. And hopefully that's now a nice smoothly fading top left field. Wow, isn't that nice? Did I see a wiggle there? Oh, no, we're good. All right. So that's already pretty neat. Poof. Okay, I think I want to do 2 more things before I wrap up. One is these numbers. They are very neutral with their black here. So I want these to be either green or increasingly red the higher the number is. And the other thing is, like, when I actually win, let's see if I manage to actually win. 2, oh my god, 3, bam. Maybe I can just reduce the number of bombs. Yeah, I can just do 0 bombs. You won. That's obviously not very celebratory, so I want to make this a bit nicer. Let's start with the harder thing, which is, I think, getting these numbers to have the right color. So basically, I want to pass in again the information of the number to the CSS to then use CSS to display the right color. So, on top of just passing the number here as content of the text node, I'm also going to set a CSS variable attribute style, and it's going to be minus bombs colon, and then yeah, that looks very promising. I just have to, again, attribute takes these 2 arguments, and now there's like a lot of arguments potentially because they're just separated by white space. So I can either wrap this in parents, or I can again just say pipe all the things to the left there. So now if we, of course I need some bombs now. I need to refresh. So if we inspect this 2 here, then we have a CSS variable 2 available here. And I know there's a super neat CSS attribute or a functionality property, I don't know what's the right term for it, to mix 2 colors with a percentage. So it's color mix CSS MDN. You see, I've been here before, and so I don't know if there are examples. Yeah, you see the examples here. So basically, it's like you can say this as, instead of a color, you can always say like color mix, and then you can specify 2 colors, and then you get the mix of them. So basically what I want to do is I want to take red and green and then say a percentage of red based on how many bombs there are. So without further ado, let's go into the CSS for this, which is here also part of this board child. So color is the attribute for the font color, and we say color mix. I'm very curious. Yeah, in sRGB, no, I want red, I want green and red, and then I want a percentage. And it's now the question, like, do I want to calculate the percentage here or in CSS? I think like, let's do it for fun. Let's do it here. So let's say calc, and we say, so max number can be surrounded by 8, so 80% is the maximum. Let's say 20% to start with, and then we add var minus bombs times 10%. Did I get all the brackets right? Semicolon here. That looks not too bad. Let's see how that goes. 4 bombs. Let's make this a bit bigger. Start. That looks like a pretty dark green already. So yeah, that's I need more bombs apparently. So where's my back button? Yeah, okay, so this is actually 16 by 16. I should also be doing something. I think this is a task for another day to resize the field. There are too many. Okay, we need more bombs to get higher numbers. Boop, boop, boop. Let's hope I don't... Ah, yeah, but now actually, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think I want more brightish green. So let's say instead of just green, we say RGB. We want to have very little to no red. We get a bit red anyway from the beginning, from the 20%, so no red. And then RG for green, so we want to get a lot of green, and we want to get I don't know, a little bit of blue as well. Does that make sense? Actually not. How does this look? Oh yeah, no, that's not too bad. Bigger field, more bombs. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I like that. I like that. That gives already a much better look and feel. So I said I also want to do the one screen. Okay, let's do 0 bombs. Exactly. Let's do that next. So what I want to do is basically I want to cover up the field with like a darker half opaque background and like have a bouncing one on top of this or something like this. How do I render the U1 currently? It's just a text, so there's nothing I can do with CSS here, so I will just wrap this in a div. And now bomb 0, I1. Where does this live? It lives in the board container. The board container is this, so maybe I actually add this to the board itself. That sounds not too bad. So actually what I want to do is, actually first I'm going to wrap things around for this to look a bit nicer here. Bam, format please. Array to list. That doesn't look too bad. So I think I'm going to make a little I'm actually going to concatenate this in front of this list. So this looks really ugly, so I'm trying to just make it look prettier a bit by... Does this make sense? Well, the formatting is not great. Also, I picked up the wrong thing. I don't want this. Oh my god, I'm breaking everything here. This button, I still want to be there. And then I want this to be there, so let's call this one view, and we just make this a local expression here. One view is this guy. Can I combine this together? I just sprinkle some parentheses over this. A bit better. This can probably be formatted much more nicely, but given that I only have 5 minutes left, I'm just going to rush through this a bit. Is this still functional? Does it compile? Yes, and I'm pretty sure nothing has changed. Now I just want to say the one view. Let's give it an ID of 1. And then here it's now part of our board. Yes. So what we can say, let's go. This should be all part nested. Oh no, that's actually not there. It's behind. This is in our board. we're going to do a new container ID, not ID, but one. I did this mistake already last stream. And just say like position absolute top 0 left 0 width 100% height 100%, and let's say background color. That's exactly what I want. Did it compile? Yes. Refresh. It's a bit too early. It's a bit too early. It's because there are no bombs in this field, which it should be fine. Which should be fine. I think it's just missing a position relative here. Position relative. There we go. So let's give the board. I think that's my favorite sad you just have to know it thing, that if you want to position something absolute to its parent, that the parent has to be relative. It's really bad. Boom. 0 bombs. I won. You won. So much win. So why is it not transparent though? That's a bit weird. Inspect. ID 1. Here, that's this guy. Because the grid lines have the same color. That makes a lot of sense. So that is good. So let's make this. Or we make it. Yeah, whatever. Should just work. Now I have to actually play. I don't want to do that. Oof, I won. Perfect. Now we're going to make it back. Last action for today. CSS bounce. Let's see. CSS bounce animation. Been there, done that. Which looks nice. Here, bounce 2. Bounce 2. Where is bounce 2? There must be keyframe spin, elastic spin, pulse, flash, hi there, grow, fade in, fade out here. Bounce. Yeah, but I want bounce 2. Bounce 2. Bam. Thank you. And we just say, I think the keyframes have to be declared at the top level. So let's leave that here. And then this animation is going to be the content of this. Let's say padding. Now come the real ugly hex, 40%. Good enough. And we say bounce. Bounce 2, and we just say that's the direct child of the, whoops, that's not what I want. Change to space, the direct child of the 1 layer. And so we have to wrap this in yet another div to be able to target it with the CSS animation. Bam, compiles, yes. Refresh, no bombs. And there we have U1 below. Maybe we remove that. One view. Why is that still there? Where do you come from? ID, that's this guy. And then we have it here again. Because here. Boom, no bombs. U1. I'm not really sure what this thing below here is. It's because of the padding. Then let's say margin top. I could also, of course, pull out flex and could flex with flex. Boom. Nice. All right. That's it. That's all I wanted to show for today. I'm going to upload this to YouTube, obviously, as well as a nice follow-up for the first part. Thanks for sticking along. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, I don't know if what I want to do next week yet, if I have a new quick prototype or if I want to keep hacking here on the Minesweeper, but I hope I can make it. So hopefully see you next time. Bye.